Okay, hey folks, we're picking back up looking at importing assets into Unity. We are now departing from Unity's tutorials and we're going completely into the tutorials that I build. I think that there's a nice foundation from those earlier ones, but moving on from here, I think there's a different direction that I like to take you in. And that direction often starts with Kenny.nl's assets. They're really wonderful. I've had tons and tons of students use them. I would love for you out there to also start using them and also to support this wonderful resource that's being offered to all of us for free. So last time we looked at some of the assets and we downloaded a platformer pack, but today we're going to look at the tools and I'm going to go to the creature mixer. And here is a great way to understand the license and also go visit some other things. And here is the creature mixer. So this gives us some options to create some different creatures. I think this one's pretty adorable. I always like to give my creatures some wings, change their legs around maybe a little bit. This one's kind of my favorite. And you can change the arms as well. Big arms, little tiny arms, regular arms, multiple arms. I usually stick around here. You can change the face as well. There's a variety of different things in here. And when we get into the faces, this is one place where you really see some of those things that we looked at last week in terms of the settings really making a lot of sense, and I'll show those to you here. Okay, let's go with a nice face, nice cute face, not so scared. Maybe this one's fine. Yes, let's go with this one. Let's give it a mustache just because we can. And I've looked at hats, but the hats always seem to conflict with either the ears or the wings. And then we can start giving it different colors. So let's give it a little bit more of a vibrant mustache. There are no grays right now. That would probably be the hat. We could change the color of the wings if we wanted to. Nice orange. And then we could change the outline. And you know, actually on the hats, one thing that I have done is I've given these people bandanas, and that allows me to differentiate between different characters. Orange kind of clashes with the red, so let's also go ahead and change the red to be orangey. There we go. Okay, so now that I have this ready, I'm going to go ahead and go up here, and I'm going to say Save Sprite Sheet. And that's going to go to my downloads. And once I have that downloaded, let me open up that folder. So I'm going to go ahead and let's pull this onto the desktop just like we did last time. And then we're going to drag it into our assets. And then this time I'm going to remember to re-full size my screen. Okay. So we now have a sprite sheet that is an animation. So unlike the last tutorial where we were sort of accidentally animating things, this one will work properly. And if I just drag this onto the stage, you'll see that, oh, we haven't done anything to our settings. So we have to go through all our old settings again. So first things first, it's a sprite. We are going to turn it into a multiple, but before we do that, I'm going to change the pixels per inch to 16. And then I'm going to change bilinear to point, and then I'm also going to change the format to RGBA 32-bit, and I'm going to say apply, and these did get a little bit bigger. Are they big enough? I usually like them at 16, but let's try 8 for today. 8's, you know, they look a little bit more like pixel art at this point. That's totally fine with me. I'm going to leave them like that. And I don't know if you can see it here, but let's see if we change it back to automatic and press yes, apply. You can see it there. It actually works better at 8 to see this. Okay, so this blurring that's happening, loss of definition, I look at that and it looks to me like it's trying to save a JPEG, and it's trying to, it's the difference between a JPEG and a PNG file. And so by changing this format from automatic to RGB A32 and hitting apply, it keeps it nice and crisp. So if you're having that problem, that is the fix. And I taught you that last week, but you didn't know why. One of my students in the past said, my characters look like they've been punched in the face. They all look like they have black eyes from that effect, and that is what we want to avoid. So it's a simple setting. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's remove the character sheet from the hierarchy, because we are going to also change this from single to multiple. And when we do that, we're going to go into the sprite editor. Oops, I forgot to hit apply again. I often do that. And we're going to cut this up. So just like last time, we're going to slice it, and we're going to do grid by cell count. But this one's really simple. It's only 4 columns and 1 row. Slice. There we go. Apply, close it. And now when I drag it onto the scene, it's a single image, and it's trying to prompt me for a new animation. So I'm going to call this player 1. I'm going to save it. And if I move on over here, let's get rid of the hamburger. We're not going to really use it right now. Let's move these a little bit farther apart and maybe get rid of that one. Let's bring this over here. And now, if I have this character and it's been brought in, and actually I should underscore, when you drag this, you drag it into the scene, you're not dragging it into the hierarchy. If you want to get it to create that animation for you, you're dragging it into the scene window, not the hierarchy window. Okay, so we now have a character, and I'm calling it player, and we can actually give it the name of player 1. But the way that Unity Playground works, that doesn't matter, the name. What matters is the tag. So we want to call it player on the tag. And then we can add some components to it. So I can go add component, and I can say move with arrows. Fantastic. I'm going to change that to WASD, and we probably could set up some mass and friction, but we'll do that a little bit later. And so WASD, and what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to say, let's only move horizontal. And I'm going to add another component, which will be jump. There we go. And so now when I press play, he is just going to fall through the earth because we haven't done the next steps that we need to do about setting up collisions. Okay, so we're going to say add component. And in this case, I'm going to say a polygon collider 2D. And if I zoom in on that, so that is not the most detailed polygon, but it's going to work for our purposes right now. But we might get to a spot where we're trying to have a little bit more detail to our collisions. So we might need to address that in a future tutorial. Let's also select this block. And let's add component of poly collider. Well, you know, if I look at all the colliders, a box collider 2D is going to work just fine for these squares. That is totally perfect for me. Okay, and while we're at it, let's do the same over here. Let's add component of box collider 2D. And if I go ahead and press play now, he falls and lands, and I have the ability to jump. And then I no longer, you can hear me hitting the space bar, I no longer have the ability to jump because this tile is not being understood as a ground. This tile also seems really big and a little a little pixelated compared to our character. So what I might actually do here is I might decide that, 16 is a better tile size for this. So let's just do another check here. Oh, and look at that. So if you change the pixels per unit after you've applied your poly collider or box collider in our case, it is not going to update. Let's go ahead and stop. Select it. You can see right there, it's using the old size. So this is a really easy fix. And we just go over to our dots and we say reset. We do that for the other one, reset. And now we're all set. So the other thing I wanted to do was make sure these were tagged as ground. Let's tag both of them as ground. There it is. And now maybe the game is to see if we can jump from one of these over to, oh, look at that. The control is so difficult. So yeah, we're going to need to do some tweaks on this. We probably need to add some friction. Maybe it needs a little more mass. Maybe the speed is going to need to come up or go down. Maybe the jump is going to need to come up, go down. This is something that you're going to have to tune for your play experience and make sure that the game is working the way that you want it to. Oh boy. Didn't even make the jump there. Too much friction. Okay. So this tutorial is not about me being a good platform gamer. It's about creating these characters. So let's also just jump back over to Kenny. Here we go. And what if now, instead of a blue player, we wanted to have a different color player, which would then also probably mean a different color. See what works. Green is pretty atrocious with purple. Let's do that. And again, we're going to go and say save sprite sheet, and then it's going to download that sprite sheet. And once that is open, not showing up in my downloads yet. 1 second. Here, I'm going to rename this in my downloads as player 2, and then I'm just going to drag it directly in from my download folder into my assets, Unity Technologies Playground, images, my name stuff. Okay, and I have this other character. I'm going to change this to match. We said 8 on the blue one, so I'll do 8 here. I'm also going to change bilinear to point, and I am going to change automatic to RGBA 32 bits. I'm going to hit apply, and then I'm going to change this to multiple and go to the sprite editor. And then I'm going to slice it again, grid by cell count, and it's 4 and 1. That's looking good. Slice, apply, close. And that should be all ready to drag. Again, I'm dragging into the scene window, not the hierarchy window. So it prompts me with animation, player 2 animation. There we go. And now I'm pressing play. Oh, you know what? I haven't set up all of the controls and things. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, here we go. Select move with arrows, and this time we're going to keep it with the arrows. We're going to set the move to be the same as the other one. We're going to set the friction to be the same, and this is one place where, okay, mass is 2, change the mass to 2. We're also going to say that it's only in the horizontal, and then we're going to add jump. Jump is 10, and then we also want to add a poly collider. Usually spelled properly works better. There we go. Now when I press play, we have 2 characters, one moving on one side, the other moving on the other side. Unfortunately, both controlled by the space button. Looks like that jump is not enough with that mask. Maybe I take the mask back down to 1. So what we actually need to do is change the spacebar jump setting over here. I have a number pad on mine, so maybe it's the number pad. Oh, I did that wrong, didn't I? That was supposed to, oof. This one's the space. This one is keypad 0. Oh boy. Okay. This is looking good. I've got 1 and 2 and oh. That is kind of crazy, right? It's spinning wildly and out of control. So one of the other things that we can do here is we can start looking at some other settings for the character. But I think before we get into that, I think it'd be better to show you how to create the map with a little more detail. These blocks are really the super basic way of just like dropping these in, and there's a much quicker, much better way to be creating your maps. And that's exactly what our next tutorial is all about. It's called tile maps. So I hope you come back and join us for that one. And with those tile maps, you'll be able to really quickly mock out a fast 2D platformer world. And then we'll also get into some of the small logistics and get your characters to stop tumbling around like maniacs when they accidentally hit things like that. Or maybe that's the game right there. Okay, thanks for joining. I hope this is helping you create some really awesome games, and let me know if you've got any questions or any comments. I'll see you on the next tutorial. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.